really need to get an intro for this. Alright, ahoy hoy! I think we're live. Hope we are live. Hoi hoi, I am Planet Walk and Fascism. I feel like there are a lot of people that even now, if you say something like, oh, I think America is fascist, or something to that effect, they'll go, no, it's not. But at what point do we have to say, okay, we've crossed so many lines here? I'm also going to talk about, did you know that Keir Starmer's bad? And I know that there are a lot of people that will be like, what? But you're a lefty, he's on the left. And I'd say, no, Keir Starmer's not on the left. I do not like his policies around the Online Safety Act, even though it wasn't his policy that he proposed, it was the Tories, I believe. But he's still continued it and been like, just constantly pushed it, which is really bad. John Hopkins says, history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Yeah. That is... It's one of those things where I feel like it's rhyming a lot. We're definitely in, like, the second verse, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but that's the thing that I'm going with. Anyway, before we get into all that, how is everyone? I hope you're all doing well. Despite everything that's going on. Because I know that there's... It's... Like, I don't think the world right now is doing particularly well. And that's for a number of reasons, but... It's one of those things where I think the world is kind of just... I know that me in New Zealand, like, I'm kind of just thinking... With certain things, there's 3.5 more years of this, right? There's 3.5 more years of the US dollar being bad, which is not good for me, seeing as a lot of the money that I get is in USD, and just seeing it go down in value is kind of terrifying, because it means I get less money. And also, it's pretty bad if other people have less money, because we are... Essentially, the world's economy works on the idea that people have excess monies that they can pay to other people as well. Like if, for example, you don't have... If someone like, I don't know, like Jaybird Max in chat doesn't have any excess, disposable income, then that means that Jaybird Max can't go and watch movies or buy video games, which means that industries will be making less money, which they then have to lay off people, means we get less entertainment and all that kind of stuff. It's not good. Yet we're in this age where it's like, oh, let's siphon off everyone's money and give it to the richest people. I don't think anyone would think that's a good idea. Grimbeard says, the weird thing about Starmer is that he used to be great on human rights as a specialist human rights lawyer, but all of that has gone out of the window in office. Yeah, it's... I watched a video which kind of explained that. The whole, like, you've got, what's his face? Nigel Farage, and then you've got Keir Starmer, and they're going to be basically fighting against each other in the next election, and Keir Starmer's kind of throwing things... Like, it's almost like they want to lose, especially with the whole Online Safety Act, right? Why would you push for something that's deeply unpopular and then say, oh, well, what if we also get rid of VPNs? Which is also a thing that's deeply unpopular. Gold over £2,650 an ounce. That means the economy is screwed. That doesn't seem like a good thing. I don't like the sound of that. I really don't like the sound of that. I may have a... I may look like I'm smiling, but this is a smile of terror. I am terrified about the idea of the economy being screwed. Especially since it seems that whenever the economy is screwed, it's not screwed for... It's not screwed for the rich always, but it's always screwed for It's always screwed for the lower class. Always. And I am in the lower class, so... yeah, not good. And Arsenic1987 says, stay hydrated. Actually, I saw your comment earlier telling me to stay hydrated. So I will keep to that. I am really trying to drink... Oh dear, that sounds like roadworks. I'm really trying to drink like a whole bottle of this per day, if I can. I don't know how good I've been at it. Yeah, it's probably something like drilling. I just, there's constant roadworks outside. I don't know how they manage it. I managed to go like years without roadworks, and then all of a sudden I moved to the one place that has constant roadworks for... It's been nearly 2 years at this point. How? I don't understand it. Anyway, the turtle moves for £2. £2 says, have some money off me, list the tariffs to Google. Like buses? It's never buses. Buses would be great. I like buses. Yeah, buses would be great. I think there should be more buses. Although, personally, I'm in favour of trains. So, you know. Anyway, let's talk about the stuff. I think I'll start with the stuff like the Online Safety Act, because there's some interesting things there, right? Because we are running up against a separate issue, right? And that is that you could potentially make a case about the separate issue. The separate issue being the problem with it's getting increasingly more difficult to tell whether someone is real or fake on the internet. And so, for example, if, like, you know that I'm real, but, like, if I got replaced with an AI tomorrow, then some people may not know. Now, you couldn't, or if someone came along, or if there was like another channel that came along tomorrow, it might be that you can't tell whether that channel is run by AI or run by a real person. And you could try to make the case that having some kind of verification there could help verify human people, right? Verify the identities of people. But that being said, I don't see any good way to do that. I really don't. That's the only, like, it's not going to protect children, right? Let's just start by getting that out. Like, children will use VPNs to get around it. You're not protecting children. When it comes to like verifying real human people, though, I cannot think of a way that would be bulletproof. Like, let's say that there's some organization that opens up. You go down to the organization, you show them your ID, and then you get a little code, which you can put into websites, and that little code essentially says, hey, I'm a real person, you can check this with the office, right? Problem is that what if someone gets a hold of your code and starts creating a whole lot of accounts saying that they're you, right? That would be a problem. But also there's the problem of, well, what if someone decides, okay, I want to use my code to create a bunch of bots, right? Now you could say, okay, well, 1 account per person, but that runs into other problems where like, if you limit it to 1 account per person, especially on a thing like YouTube, that does run the risk of, okay, but what if you have a business account? Do you need a business ID for that? There's so many potential issues that you run into when trying to... And I do think that there needs to be some kind of verification eventually, or that there should be some kind of verification when it comes to certain accounts maybe. But I don't see any foolproof way of ensuring that. Because, again, like, someone's a scammer, right? Dave Weiss goes down to the thing and gets his own code and starts scamming people, right? That's, that I don't see any way to go about that and again, you've got the problem of what if they get a code from someone else. With giving your ID to online things, you run the risk of, okay, well, what if someone gets a hold of your ID? What if there's a data leak? All that kind of stuff. I'm surprised it's not illegal to mimic real-life persons with AI. Yeah, I think that there should be laws against that. But yeah, I don't see any good way to stop, to identify AI compared to humans. There's some ways which you can try to do it, but I don't know how well that would work. More and more YouTubers are realizing this madness. I've been screaming about it for 6 months now. I worked in IT since 2008. Nobody seems to listen. Every time someone says there should be a law, they probably shouldn't, just saying. Yeah, I think that there should be laws for certain things. Like, I think that generally what you want to do with laws is target the producers of things, right? Not the consumers. Like that's why I would be in support of regulation targeting AI companies, especially regulation that forces them to publish all their training data. But yeah, I don't think that the Online Safety Act, it doesn't achieve any of the things I'm talking about. Let's be clear about that. It does not achieve any of that. All it achieves is making it harder for people to access the internet. And I do not like this whole idea of, we have to stop children from accessing the internet, so let's make it so that everyone has to upload their ID or whatever other way they're going to try and use. I think that is a bad thing. I think that the risk of data leaks, the risk of also the risk of some people being misidentified, also it's, who's going to get hit by this? Old people. The genuinely old people are going to get hit by it because they'll just receive an email, right, that says, we weren't able to verify that your account was over the age of this. Can you send your ID or maybe some other personal information? I have... my mum used to have a partner who kept on getting these kinds of emails. He was like 60, over the age of 65. And me and my sister had to keep telling him, no, they're trying to scam you. Do not respond. So yeah, it's one of those things where the people that will get hit the most, you're not going to protect young people. You're actually putting people like seniors at risk, people that aren't good with technology. And yeah, there's some young people that aren't good with technology as well. They'll get, they'll end up getting scammed as well. So who are you protecting? You're just making it easier for scammers. You're just making it harder to access the internet. You're not protecting anyone. And the idea that Labour UK, to be clear, is pushing this, despite it being wildly unpopular, and the party that's opposing it is the Reform Party, which I am not a big fan of the Reform Party, although they're better on one issue. It seems like they want reform to win. Anyway, I saw one thing saying, not to scream too loud, but the internet is genuinely breaking. The best remedy for your personal self is to learn what an LLM actually is. Yeah, it's not good. Like, I think that we are at a point in time where we need to make offline spaces. I genuinely think that offline spaces need to make a return, and they haven't. And we're at a point where, like, even if you've got friends on the internet, you can't be sure that they are real. Well, like, most of the time, I'm fairly certain that people that I interact with online are real, but, like, it's not too long until people start making friends with AI. Well, we've even got the problem where people will basically have... Except these people know that their friend is just ChatGPT, or their friend is just ChatGPT, and then that leads them to pretty bad places as well. Anyway, parents should stop letting the internet babysit their kids. That would be a good start. Yeah, that is... If you think that the internet is not good for children, and let's be clear, like, I don't think that the internet is good for children. Like, social media is absolutely terrible. But, like, the problem really is basically saying, oh, well, this shuts my kid up. But the solution isn't to just go, oh, okay, well, let's remove access for kids to all of that. No, the solution is to actually... Well, I think the solution is actually to make spaces on the internet for kids. There's a video that I haven't seen, but I get the gist of the video just from seeing the thumbnail, where there used to be places on the internet for children. I remember when I was a kid going to some of these places. Even though some of my, like, earliest memories of accessing the internet were YouTube, I still remember, like, going onto sites to play things like Bloons Tower Defense. Used to love that as a kid. I remember having a Tamagotchi, and you could access the internet to get things on your Tamagotchi, and that was pretty cool. So, yeah, I think things like that would be great, like, to have those spaces for kids, like, that are specifically made for kids and that don't have any of the social network functionality that a lot of places now have. Like, if you go on YouTube, that has social network functionality. I don't know of any places on the internet that are really still for kids. It's all just it's all just like it's all sort of a mesh. Like, you've got spaces that are created for adults, or created to get as many users as possible, and then those spaces are made into spaces that also kids go to, like TikTok, for example. TikTok is a space that is to try and attract as many users, and some of those users are going to be children, because where else do they go to, right? Saying the internet is not good for children is too simplistic, like saying books are not good for children. Context and context are what matters. Yeah, it's like, you could make the internet better for children, is what I'm saying. Like, if you have places for kids, right? Like that, and I need to reiterate this. It needs to lack the social network functionality, the ability to chat with others, or at the very least to not have chat be a core part of it, right? I think the problem is that we have these places that are just, it's too easy to interact. Like, here's a place that's supposedly for kids, Roblox, but are they good for... No, they're not good for kids. I think that the problem is, like, Roblox is really the only place on the internet that I can think of that's really for kids, and even that's not good for kids. The internet is brilliant for kids. Just teach them what it is and they'll get it. The whole... someone think of the children's stickers too old now. We all know they're going to find a way, for fuck's sake. The social media stuff is the most antisocial thing ever made, to be honest. Yeah, I think that there is a sort of level of truth to what you're saying there, where like I also disagree with the idea that you should just completely restrict kids' access to like social media. I think that once they reach a certain age, maybe 13 might be a good age. 15 probably better, but like sometime around that range, I think that is when kids will go on social media. And I do think that there is kind of a thing where, like, if you try to push kids too far away from things like the internet, you do run the risk of them not understanding the internet, right? We have this with older people, actually, where older people haven't had the internet for their whole life and all of a sudden get introduced to it and they don't know what they're doing. But the older person that I mentioned earlier, right? Education for youth is imperative for internet safety. Yeah, I think that is one of those things where you do also need to like kind of tell them about like, hey, here's a few things to keep in consideration. Like I'm not in favor of saying I'm definitely not in favor of saying we need to make laws restricting this. I disagree with the law that Australia is pushing, where it's going to restrict. I think it targets social media, but it basically restricts it to 16+. I think that there does need to be a level of. It needs to be down to the parents, right? Parents need to be responsible, and I feel like that's the biggest issue here. Like, yes, social media is terrible for kids, right? If you spend too much time on something, it's going to be terrible. But that's the same for adults. I think social media in general is terrible for people. But I don't like the idea of laws to restrict that. I think the best thing to do is to basically have laws to restrict the addictiveness of things like social media, to say, hey, after a certain amount of time, the feed must come to an end or something. That might be a good law. I don't know. But that would be far more effective, I think, at solving a lot of the problems that social media has than saying under 16s can't go on it. Under 18s have to provide an ID for everything. I am not a... I forgot what I was going to say because I started reading chat. Yes, parenting is deplorable around these issues, yeah. And I think that when it comes to Labour, my issues with Labour don't just end at the Online Safety Act. My issues with Labour go far beyond that, to the point where it's like and let me be clear, UK Labour, New Zealand Labour, far better, right? Far better. But like UK Labour, they haven't done, as far as I can tell, they haven't done anything that's really left-wing. They've continued austerity politics. They've cut, I think, the winter pay allowance or something for elderly people or something like that. Which, I think is bad. I think people should... At a point in time where things cost more, you should probably get a bit more money if you're on a benefit. And all these things that Labour is doing, they're not left-wing. And it sucks because so many people are trained to see certain parties as, oh, this is left-wing. Oh, this is right-wing. Right? You see parties like Reform, they're supposedly right-wing. They are right-wing, should I say. And then you see parties like Labour, and you're told that they're left-wing, that's left-wing. And people get it into their minds that because you've got these left-wing parties that are shit at being left-wing, that being left-wing is bad, being left-wing causes worse outcomes. And it's like, no... The issue is that they are continuing the stuff that the right-wing parties are doing. Right? And then people go ahead and vote Reform, and then you get fascism, because Labour's not doing anything to stop the fascists, right? They are enabling the fascists. At least with Reform, there is a silver lining, and that is that they have sensible ideas about trans women in prisons. Their whole thing was, oh hey, let's actually do it on a case-by-case basis. And I'm like, at least someone in the UK has better thinking than a lot of people in the UK right now, or a lot of politicians. And it's like, I can't believe that I actually am giving Nigel Farage a little bit of credit. And that's, yeah. But also, another thing that I want to talk about before we get to the really fascisty stuff is this, there's a sort of idea that I've seen that I don't know if it really has a name, right? There's, the thing where like corporations have too much power, and sometimes even have too much power over other corporations. And I feel like that's a problem. Surely everyone has heard of Visa and MasterCard, the whole debacle with that. And that is a big issue. And I feel like it's kind of like a corporate style fascism where corporations have power and they use that power to enact agendas against other corporations. And firstly, I'm going to read a super chat that I just got from Arsenic1987. I couldn't read the full name until just now. Saying, I'm writing too much, sorry. Thank you for being you, Planner. I'm glad you're real, as much as it sucks. Here's some knocks. And have my warmest hugs from Norway. Stay hydrated, go hug someone you love, and love you all. I'll try to do all that. I'll start by staying hydrated, and after the stream I'll go hug someone I love, if I can. It'll be within the next few days at least. Anyway, talking about the whole Visa MasterCard situation. Yeah, there's this issue where a lot of corporations, the payment processors, have way too much power over other corporations. I'm not a big fan of corporations, but also I don't like corporations having more power than they should have, and that's the problem with these payment processors, because you've got the whole collective shout thing, right? They're from Australia, I believe, and they basically said, well, we're going to have to we don't like this content on Steam and itch.io, so we're going to go to the payment processors and get them to drop support unless Steam and itch.io change their terms of service or something. And it is ridiculous that Collective Shout have managed to pull this much sway, but also it is ridiculous that a payment processor can determine what can and can't what can determine, oh, hey, we're going to pull support for your business because you're selling certain types of stuff. And this doesn't just apply to Visa and MasterCard. You've also got things like PayPal. And PayPal, from what I've heard, is even worse because when it comes to people that either draw lewd content or do sex work, sometimes they find that PayPal has said, actually, we don't approve of this, therefore you're not allowed to use our services. We're suspending your account. And it's like this sort of prudish kind of, I don't know how to the exact words to describe it, but stopping someone from being able to make a living by, doing what they like. If I want to draw lewds and sell them, that's up to me. I am not a good artist, and so I'm probably not going to do that. But if I want to do that, that's up to me. That's not up to any. That's the payment processor's job, is just to make sure that if I do something like that, I get the money. That's if I do something like that, or if someone else gets the money, or if someone else does that they get paid for it. And yeah, I don't like the idea of payment processors being able to say, yeah, you're not allowed to get an income because we don't agree with what you're doing. If Steam has a game that you think is bad, then the first thing to do is report it to Steam, right? If they take no action, then you can go, okay, let's make a fuss about this, right? But make a fuss about it pointing to that game. You don't have to get the payment process involved. You get news outlets involved. That's what you do, and then people stop using that service. Or at least ideally, that's how it would work. Obviously there are some people that will go, oh, well, that game's actually based, so stuff like that doesn't always work. But the problem is that I feel like they don't really have examples to point to, and you can go say to Steam, hey, look, we think that this is a bad thing. And feel like there's an argument going on in the chat. Arsenic1987 says, P.S. your headset is beautiful. Thank you. Anyway, I feel like we enter very dangerous territory where corporations can determine who gets paid for something that, you know, they're just the middleman of, right? Yeah, like if someone is doing something illegal to get paid, then I think that is something that's a matter for the law. You know, like there's this thing called the law to stop people from doing illegal things. I just don't. I feel like this is kind of, it sets a dangerous precedent, and I don't like when things set a dangerous precedent like this. I don't like when corporations have too much power over what other people do, especially when it comes to making money. Like, you can't even make money without corporations dictating whether you're allowed to make money in that way. That's bullshit. To be fair, I am on YouTube and they do have a little bit of a say over that kind of stuff. But to be fair, that's from advertisers. You know, like, that's at least with YouTubers, at least with YouTube, that's advertisers saying, hey, we don't want to do business with this type of content. That's better than say, and hey, advertisers don't get a say over whether someone's allowed to do things like send super chats or super thanks or buy me a coffee or support me on Patreon. Advertisers get no say over any of that. And so I think that's infinitely better. So yeah. They just get a say over whether ads get played on my videos. Anyway, I do want to talk about something else. So the US, if we want to talk about fascism, there is no escaping the US. Well, you can probably try to leave it. That's probably a good thing. But there's no not talking about the US when it comes to talking about fascism. So let's go to this. Oh boy, is this... So firstly, let's talk about the first things first. The Department of Defense has been not renamed apparently, but is going by the Department of War now. Which, I don't know, that just seems like... That seems very fascisty to me. Like, I get they're trying to come off as strong, but that's part of fascism, is trying to come off strong. Before the stream, I was sent the 14 characteristics of fascism. I'm trying to remember powerful and continuing nationalism. Fascist regimes tend to make constant use of patriotic mottos, slogans, symbols, songs, and our other paraphernalia. Flags are seen everywhere, as are flag symbols on clothing and in public displays. Supremacy of the military. Even when there are widespread domestic problems, the military is given a disproportionate amount of government funding and the domestic agenda is neglected. Soldiers and military service are glamorized. Where are we hearing that? We are hearing that in America with them going, oh yeah, it's the Department of War. And apparently Chicago is about to find out. Tell me, please, try to convince me that this is not fascism. And like, are we going to say that this isn't fascisty? I do want to. There is something I've been told about the Department of War. Apparently, it's not actually called the Department of War because you can't change a government's name without Congress's approval. This is the person who sent me the 14 characteristics of fascism. Told me that. So thank you to GeoStrib. I hope he's okay with me mentioning. But apparently it's still the Department of Defense. It just identifies as the Department of War, which is, kind of funny. Anyway. Oh yeah, then there's I love the smell of deportations in the morning, which I'm sure, I hear the disdain for the recognition of human rights. Oh, obsession over national security. Fear is used as a motivational tool by the government over the masses. Just obsession with crime and punishment. We're going like 14 for 14, aren't we? Under fascist regimes, the police are given almost limitless power to enforce laws. The people are often willing to overlook police abuses and even forego civil liberties in the name of patriotism. There is often a national police force with virtually unlimited power in fascist nations. That sounds like ICE. That sounds like ICE to me. So, yeah. Anyway, we've got more. This is propaganda. America first, peace through strength. Yeah, it's just. This is clearly just like, is there something about propaganda on here? I'd be surprised if there wasn't. Because, that is a. That I think it would be under controlled mass media, but this isn't exactly the. Actually, the media is indirectly controlled by government regulation or sympathetic media spokespeople and executives. That does remind me of certain things that are happening with when it comes to certain merger deals that are going on at the moment. We can it's not hyperbolic to call this fascism. Peace through strength sounds really familiar. Yeah. What else is there? Oh yeah. This propaganda here. This feels really like 1930s-ish to me. Obviously it's AI generated, but the particular aesthetic that they're going for feels like it's sort of 1930s propaganda shit. We've got more of it. Build your homeland's future. Build your homeland's future. I'm sure there's something about nationalism in here. Powerful and continuing nationalism. Fascist regimes tend to make constant use of patriotic mottos, slogans, symbols, songs, and other paraphernalia. Oh yeah, that would be the thing earlier with the propaganda. Right. Your nation needs you. Yeah, this is... I should probably move this out of the way so that you can, see this a bit better. Your nation needs you, because... This is all propaganda. Coming out of the US. How long before they get to the service guarantee citizenship stage? I have no clue. that's something different. But it's, at this point, it is something where I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that this is, if we can't call it, if it's what is the word that they, if it's, there's a word that they use to try and say, oh, you're just I'm trying to, give me a second. They try to say, oh, you're just, does someone know the word? There's a word that I cannot remember at the moment for some reason. Like, you're worried about nothing is what they often try to say, and it's like really? Because this seems very, like, it feels like we're in 1930s, and as it was said, in, as Geostreba said to me, at least in 1930s Germany, they didn't have hindsight. Paranoid, maybe. I think it's different to paranoid. But yeah. And, like, Geostreba, like, also mentioned a thing to do with, like, how the current, with how things in the US, well, are parallel. Because there was this act called the Enabling Act, and I'm just going to read what he sent me. Sensationalist, yes, that's the one. That's the right one, Ren. Thank you. Yeah, you're just being sensationalist. You're being dramatic. And it's like, really? Is it dramatic to say this feels like propaganda? That this is the exact same kind of thing that the Nazis would have put out? Anyway, hyperbolic is another one. I think I was saying hyperbolic earlier. Yeah, I was saying hyperbolic earlier. I'm pretty sure. Or at least I was saying hyperbole. Anyway. The Enabling Act. Article 1. In addition to the procedure prescribed by the Constitution, laws of the Reich may also be enacted by the government of the Reich. This includes laws referred to by Articles 85, Paragraph 2, and Articles 87 of the Constitution. And Geostreba said, so this article allowed the government and the Chancellor and his ministers to make laws directly. Here's the real kicker, though. I'm just basically reading out what he said. Geo, if you're watching this, sorry, but, like, I can't memorize all this off the top of my head. Article 2. Laws enacted by the government of the Reich may deviate from the Constitution as long as they do not affect the institutions of the Reichstag and Reichsrat. The rights of the president remain unaffected. Which essentially allows them to override the Constitution with laws. Basically, make a law and say, yeah, this is law now, even if it's unconstitutional. Which is what Donald Trump has been trying to do. Like, we see this with and I think with the weakening of with the courts, right? Because obviously a lot of these laws get challenged in courts and then they get appealed to the Supreme Court, hoping that the Supreme Court will side with the administration. The issue that I find with a lot of this is, especially with the whole thing, like, they're trying to say, oh, well, activist judges shouldn't get a say. And the problem with that argument that I have is the problem that I have with that is that the Supreme Court can take a long time to hear cases. If you say that, oh, well, this can't be blocked by I think they're trying to tried to stop nationwide injunctions or something like that. Basically saying, oh, well, judges can't stop something for the entire nation. the problem that you get with that is, well, now it has to go all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has to rule on it. That can take ages, and with the amount of shit that they're just piling out, which is blatantly unconstitutional, they're basically trying to skirt the law as much as possible. Trump wants to be able to essentially just not have to deal with the Constitution. He wants to essentially be able to change the Constitution through executive order. Which, it's not exactly... That's kind of what... That's pretty much what Hitler wanted to do. What Hitler did, should I say. It's... Well, close enough. As I say, history doesn't repeat, but it sure does rhyme. There's too much that's going on here that is just blatantly, authoritarian, fascist, and, again, these 14 points of fascism, or 14 characteristics of fascism, I can just, point out a few and go, yeah, that's a thing. Disdain for intellectuals and the arts. Fascist nations tend to promote and tolerate open hostility to higher education and academia. Does that sound like a certain president to you in the US? Rampant cronyism and corruption. Oh, that's sure a thing. Like how Trump is trying to work with, from what I've heard, Trump is trying to work with Andrew Cuomo to make sure that Andrew Cuomo becomes mayor of New York so that, God forbid, a socialist doesn't finally get to be able to enact policy. Also, the fact that, Eric Adams, who's the current mayor of New York, was essentially told, hey, we're gonna drop this case against you so that you can, but you gotta work with us. So yeah, it's this is not, this is not hyperbole. It's not it's not sensationalist. It's not hysteria. That was the word. That is the word that I was trying to... It's not hysterical to say, oh, well, this is fascism. It's very clearly fascist. And I think the point that drives this home is what happened... I think it's over a week ago at this point. But not just what happened, the response to it. Now, I am going to have to defend Donald Trump for a second, because at least Donald Trump doesn't seem too concerned about it. It's the people around him, the people that vote for him, the people that he's likely to listen to, unfortunately. But it's those people that are talking about it. And that, if you've heard, recently there was recently in, I can't remember what state it was, but there was a shooting in a church. The first thing that I heard about this shooting, there was a mass shooting in a church, and the first thing I heard was the person who did it was trans. Now, that was the first thing that Republicans focused on. Not the fact that this person was a Nazi, but the fact that this person was trans. And they were more concerned with that little detail than any of the other details. And then it came out that actually this person might have been a detransitioner. And obviously, if they're not going... Obviously, they don't want to shift from their narrative of trans people are bad. Right? And there's so much obfuscation that's been done around this so that they can say, oh, trans people are bad. We need to take away the rights of... Minnesota, thank you. We need to take away the rights of trans people to own guns. And, like, I'm not a big fan... I'm not a big fan of the idea that everyone needs to have a gun and or everyone... Like, I think that guns should be a bit more restricted than they are. Like, this should certainly have to have a license to own a gun, just like you need a license for a car. But, like, if everyone is allowed a gun, then I do not think that any group should be discriminated against having a should be discriminated against on that when it comes to gun rights. Like if my neighbor can go and get a gun, I should be allowed to have the same right too. And the scary thing is that they are basically using this to try and discriminate against trans people. And to draw more parallels to 1930s Germany, not too long ago, I was watching a video by 3 Arrows. And this is a fairly old video, but it was a video about, funnily enough, it was a video about gun control. In 1938, there was a shooting by a Jewish person, and I believe it was a German diplomat that was killed in that shooting, or at least harmed. And the next thing that happened was the Night of Long Knives, but then basically. It became law that Jewish people weren't allowed to have guns from that shooting. What we've had a shooting by someone who is supposedly trans, although probably detrans. And also, I don't know if they had taken hormones. Like, I've seen video of this person, and it doesn't look. Look, I know the effects of hormones. They did not look like they had hormones in their body. So people are going on about, oh, hormones did this. No, I highly doubt it. I very much highly doubt it, especially given that they were saying... And then there's also other things, like, I think it's hard to say, like, why they were detrans, but I think they still had gender dysphoria. But anyway, so basically they're trying to use this to say that trans people are mentally ill and should not be allowed guns. That sounds awfully similar to, obviously they're not, obviously it's not going as fastly as what happened in 1930s Germany in 1938, I believe. Or... Yeah, they're not as speedy with it. And they're also... And they're also currently just talking about it. But it's like... Really... And I don't think they... Maybe they did, but I don't think they tried to say in 1930s Germany that, like, Jews were mentally ill. I think they just said, oh yeah, Jewish people aren't allowed to have guns. But yeah, it's one of those things which... You know, they've got this... How do I put it? They've got this enemy that they need to stop, and they've decided that that enemy is trans people, and so they're going to try and strip away trans people of their rights. At least that seems to be what's happening. But on the positive side, let's go to this, because this is what Trump said. about it, which is like, at least Trump doesn't. I think that Trump doesn't really give a shit about the whole trans thing that his base is so worked up about. Anyway, well, it could, but I do say it's like taking place with people that were not transgender. I mean, generally, it seems that it would take place with people that are. This was a bad case. This was a very sick person that was just standing out there and shooting for a long time. If you look, it was a long time. But generally, it's people that aren't transgender, so At least that's what... I hope that's what he said. Because Adrian said, I'm not saying this happened. Oh, probably not saying that reverse Fetterman stroke. But this is Trump's response to a question about trans terrorism in his most recent interview. Like, I wish I had a video of it. But, like, yeah, it's one of those things where I don't... Like, genuinely, I do not think that Trump really cares about the whole trans thing. I think that Trump just uses... Well, I mean, he's basically said that. He talks about transgender and everyone goes wild. But if the whole... I talk about the economy and everyone's like... And then I talk about transgender and everyone goes wild. It's one of those... it's one of those things where I just... I don't think that Trump's heart is in it. I really don't. And I think that's the one saving grace about everything, is that Trump's heart is just not in it. And because if Trump's heart was in it, you can guarantee that that he would immediately be like, oh yeah, this is the fault of trans people. Also, just a little funny thing that I remember seeing is this thing here. I hope that it plays.
Transgender for everybody transgender.
Yeah. Like, I think that when it comes to Trump, it is his base that... his base and the people around him. I think one person in the chat said about that. Yeah, I think it's just the people around him that say, oh, you need to appeal to your base, and his base will push him to be transphobic. But I mean, in 2016, he was a lot... Like, in 2016, he was saying stuff that by today's standards would be considered woke gender ideology. Genuinely. Like, in there's a thing that I saw of him in 2016 where he basically said, oh yeah, if a trans woman wants to use the bathroom, wants to use a woman's bathroom, they should be allowed to. That is what he basically said. Trump 2.0 is not the same as Trump 2.0 is not the same as the first term. Certainly not the same. And you take care, Rin. Anyway, what else do we have? I don't know what this is. Oh, that's a different thing. Oh yeah, you got Asmongold blaming the... Asmongold, like, kind of did a thing later on, if I remember, where he kind of said, oh, this was just a deranged person, it isn't left to right. But this was after saying this.
Like, I'll just say it the way it is. A lot of people might not like this. That's why I'm going to do it.
Okay, so it's just like trying to get drama.
the amount of like LGBT people that very openly and just brazenly advocate for and celebrate violence against people that don't acknowledge their lifestyle as being legitimate needs to be zero.
Okay, so I hadn't actually watched this thing because, you know, I do save clips and it's like, okay. But, like, this is a difficult one because, like, yeah, ideally people that wish violence on others, ideally that would be zero. Ideally there would be zero people wishing violence on LGBT people. But unfortunately, you do have a lot of people that it's not just... Unfortunately, you have a lot of people that it's not just that they don't accept us. You have a lot of people that are openly hostile, right? And when you have that open hostility, you often get people that respond with hostility. And it's very much, when it comes to non-LGBT people, the onus is often put onto LGBT people to say that, oh, they need to be the ones being civil. They're not. We're allowed to say, oh, these people need to die or whatever. But they need to be... It's this sort of double standard that, like, people tend not to... Like, transphobic people especially don't acknowledge this. You've had people, like, laugh about the suicides of trans people, and it's just like... When it comes to that kind of stuff... when it comes to that kind of stuff, there's very much a... sort of thing where a lot of people are sick of it. Like, a lot of people are sick of people like Graham Linehan being able to say, punch anyone that goes, punch any trans woman that goes into the women's toilets. And it's one of those things where people like Asmongold won't acknowledge that is a thing. People get frustrated over that kind of stuff. People get frustrated that one side gets a free pass when it comes to wishing violence on the other. And that comes to... Then they start to advocate for and celebrate violence against the other side. Also, let's remind ourselves that the first Pride was a riot. You know, I'm not, like, gonna say that all violence is bad, especially when there's... I do think that there is a legitimate case for violence in the when it comes to people that are not heard, right? I don't think that it should be the go-to thing, obviously. Like, I'd rather people try to be civil, but, like, when civil action doesn't work, I mean, that's what the Second Amendment is for, right? The Second Amendment is, if civil action doesn't work, then you need to be able to stand up and protect yourself. People... And that doesn't just look like waiting for the cops to show up at your door. Sometimes that does mean that you'll be in the streets when you need to protect yourself.
The amount of people that should be doing that on social media, the goal number of that should be zero. And right now it's socially tolerated in a way that I think is completely unacceptable.
I don't think that... I do think that there are some people that will go out and advocate for violence. I generally would say violence is bad. Sometimes it can lead to good things, but oftentimes it doesn't. It's one of those things where you can't just use violence. Like, I think that when violence is used against you, then that's generally when violence is seen as acceptable. But then you've also got to... you do have to look at the other side, I think. Like, when there are people wishing violence on you, then it's like, can you really be blamed if you wish violence on those other people? And I don't think this is necessarily about when it comes to I don't think this is a writer's language of the unheard. Yes, exactly. That's what was I saying? I don't think this is necessarily about like the shooting, because like when it comes to the shooting, like that was a different group that was trying to get violence. It's the Nazis that wanted to do the violence. It wasn't the. It wasn't the. It wasn't exactly the trans people saying, "Oh yeah, we want to shoot up a church." Like I don't think that there's any trans person that would have celebrated this. I don't think. I personally think that going and doing shootings, mass shootings, is bad, actually. Even if you're trying to do it as a protest, don't do mass shootings. You know, like, protest. The only time that violence is good for protest is when violence is being enacted upon you, or when there is a clear present threat to you that may call for violence. In all other cases, please don't do violence, and especially trans people. Like I don't think that trans people generally are going to be wanting to like do any more do any mass shootings. But like if there is another trans person or someone who they can say is trans that does a shooting, you can guarantee that it's going to you can guarantee that they're going to use that. They're going to say, "Oh yeah, this proves it. We acted too late. We need to act now." That's what they're going to do. If there's and so it's one that even if it's in 3 years from now, that's what they'll say, because they've been chomping at the bit for a while, trying to say, "Oh yeah, it's all the fault of trans people," but like it's not. They're just using it as an excuse to, you know, take away rights from trans people because they need an enemy. Anyway, what was I going to do? Oh yeah, now that we're a scapegoat, that's the word I'm looking for. They need a scapegoat. You know, like all the shootings are trans people, even if that's not actually the case. They'll still say that all the shootings are trans people. But I will say that there is something else that is kind of I'd say government overreach. I don't think that it is a good thing. Anyway, apparently, lab-grown meat has officially been banned in the state of Texas. And for all their, actually, I just remembered one of the things that I read on the, 14 characteristics of fascism. This, because this is, I think this is to try... I think the ultimate goal of something like this is to try and protect farmers. And, you know, what was... There's something about corporate power is protected. You know. But yes, to try and protect... Ultimately, banning lab-grown meat is it's a protectionist policy to try and protect farmers. Because it's like... Otherwise, wouldn't you let the free market deal with it? That's what I think you'd do, at least. It's... It's one of those things where I think that lab-grown meat... I'd like to try lab-grown meat, actually. If lab-grown meat became an economically viable thing, like if it was cheaper than regular meat, then I'd go out and maybe get some. I'd like to try it, actually. The free market does not exist. It's... the free market doesn't always work as advertised, I'd say. But, like, it's one of those things where they're trying to essentially... Like, if they were so pro-free market, they wouldn't ban it. You know, I think that the free market doesn't work as advertised. You know, like, we can see this, like, going back to the social media thing. Social media is highly addictive, and that's... and it turns out that if you want to... if you want to make a product that is better than your competitors, you just got to make it more addictive than your competitors, and that does lead to not necessarily the best things for the best things for everyone. And then there's also propaganda as well. If you can say, oh well, my competitor's product is terrible, then people buy into that and don't buy your competitor's product. There's both of those aspects to it, which kind of do make... In that sense, you don't really have free markets. And then there's some things which I would say aren't a free market. When you've got inelastic markets that the price is just set by whoever sets the price. Things like housing, things like groceries. You need those to survive. Whatever the price is, that is what you pay for it, regardless of whether you want to. You can't just free market your way out of that. I would have no problem with lab-grown as long as it tasted nice and the texture and mouthfeel didn't weird me out. Yeah, I actually enjoy when it comes to meat. I enjoy it's a certain type of impossible meat. Things like the Rebel Whopper at Burger King. I love that. I haven't been to Burger King in a while. But like the Rebel Whopper there tastes really nice. I highly enjoy that. I always encourage people to actually try the non-meat meat because I think it actually tastes... I think that the Impossible patties taste better than their regular patties, and if they change the Impossible patties to taste not as good as their regular patties, or to taste the exact same as their regular patties, I'd say that would be a decline. I wonder why a country that is so heavily invested in the cattle industry has so many people opposed to alternative protein sources. Yeah, that is true. You don't get BSC from mushrooms? I don't know what BSC is, sorry. But I do like mushrooms. I haven't had mushrooms in a hot minute. One of the things I really liked, like I've been like not spending a whole lot lately. But one of the things I really did like sometimes was I would get I'd get a piece of bread, and I'd get like two pieces of bread, put them in an egg. Eggs also cost a bit, so that's another reason why I haven't done this. So I did get some eggs recently because some of my flatmates were getting a lot of eggs. Why did my brain just slow? Anyway, dip the bread in eggs, and mixed up eggs, of course. Fry it. Also add flavors to it as well. Then with the mushrooms, what you do is you put them in. You add a bunch of garlic to them, and you just sort of fry them. I generally fry them fry them with oil, and I use margarine because butter's way too expensive now. Also, margarine's just always been cheaper. Anyway, put those in between your two pieces of bread that you've fried with egg. And yeah, you got yourself a nice garlic mushroom French toast sandwich. Yeah, my brain had to buffer. I tried to get a lot more sleep than I actually got. And I mean a lot more sleep. I'm going to be like doing the snork me after the stream. But yeah. But I still have some energy, so I still stream for everyone because I have stuff that I want to talk about. And also I want to talk about friends and unions, which, you know, might seem a bit odd. Why would I want to talk about those? And I actually have good reasons for wanting to talk about streams and unions. But you know, for talking about friends and unions, I recently thought about stuff and I was like, that actually, I really like that idea. Why the fuck isn't it done more? Anyway, what other things oh yeah, so a lot of people, oh yeah, and I also want to like talk about like future video ideas. Like when it comes to content, obviously I want to make content that people like, but I also want to make content that I also like getting ideas for content. Like there's actually a particular video that I'm waiting until a particular thing happens in order to make the video. We'll see when it happens. I don't know when it will happen, but anyway. What was I? Oh, hi Jesson. Jesson for $20 dues says hi planner. And Vera, that looks like it's spelt to be said in a Australian accent. Anyway, there's been more transphobia that I've noticed lately, and I might make a video on this eventually. But essentially, there's been a kind of, like this person here says, in the USA, trans-identified adults are twice as likely to not have a job. Trans-identified adults, when they do have a job, are earning very low wages, 35% below average. 1/3 of trans-identified adults live in poverty. And then they go on to say, and they want your tax dollars to pay for their drugs and surgeries, or blaming working, tax-paying Americans for their lack of economic success. Pay up, shut up, or put up with them or else. And it's like, you don't think that this is like a problem that like might be because discrimination? You know, like it says here, when they do have a job, are earning very low wages, 35% below average. You don't think that might be because of discrimination? People basically going, oh, well, you're trans, and like you see this with, and then the views like AI generated art, of course, because they have no talent themselves. But yeah, like I've heard a lot about trans people. Like a lot of times they'll actually look for jobs and they will put their dead name on their. Yeah, they'll apply for jobs using their dead name so that they don't get discriminated against. I don't know what the comments on this one looks like. Yeah, and they say this is because they're mentally ill, unstable. Nobody wants to hire them because they're insufferable. No, I feel like there's a perception of trans people out there that is just not true. Like, genuinely, people are so worried about like trans people going off on them if they misgender a trans person, right? The reality is that if you misgender a trans person, if you are the trans person's friend, they will correct you. If you are someone that the trans person doesn't know that well, they may correct you. They'll try to be polite about it, generally. If you're hostile, they'll probably just try to avoid you. Like, genuinely, I have not... I'll be honest, I've accidentally misgendered plenty of trans people, right? And generally, the reaction I get is, hey, use this pronoun. I'm like, okay, sorry. That's a normal thing. And there are plenty of times when I have been in the room when a trans person has been misgendered around someone that they don't know that well, and they've just stayed silent because they don't want to cause a scene. Trans people generally don't cause a scene. It's like, you get things with, people go, oh, it's ma'am, kind of thing. And it's just not, that's just not reality. Sometimes, you'll get people that will say, hey, I've corrected you multiple times, can you please do this? But that's when they're getting fed up, right? If you accidentally misgender a trans person, then, then it's the vast majority of times it's just going to be the vast majority of times they're not going to correct you. But if they do correct you, the vast majority of times it's just going to be a polite, hey, can you please use this pronouns? Right? And then you've got this person here that says, you got this person that says, makes you wonder at what point will employers start giving TIM a wide berth at interview to avoid all the potential problems having TIMs on the payroll. And this person says, already happening. Our sources say employers are increasingly nervous about hiring TIMs. SMEs were always worrying. Now bigger firms worry too. And it's one of those things where, like, generally like, if you hire a trans person, it's not going to be a big deal. Right? I feel like a lot of the times, if you hire a trans person, you're probably going to get someone that's fairly qualified because like, it's why I personally, if I had to choose between like a white person and a black person with exactly the same qualifications, I would actually think that the black person would be more qualified, seeing as I would need to work harder to get there. It's like, if you have someone that's worked harder to get somewhere and systemic racism or systemic prejudice exists against that person, you should probably go with a person that has systemic prejudice against them if they've got the same qualifications as someone else, because they've had to work against that. Sounds like the usual, if you complain, you're the problem. Yeah. It's not even that. It's like, oh, we think you might complain, so therefore you're the problem. And that's how stupid it is. It's like, oh, if we think you might, in that case, don't hire, that's the case for just hiring only white males at a job, because, if everyone at the job is a white male, then no one's going to complain about anyone else. But that's obviously discrimination. And, we try to not have discrimination, or at least there are plenty of people that don't want to do discriminations. Can I maximize my face cam? Sure. And let me switch over to the YouTube thing, because it's easy. It's much easier. I can also see the concurrent viewers when I've got the YouTube stuff open. My boss asked his secretary to censor all applications' names, pictures, and identifying information to make sure he doesn't have a bias either way. Yeah, I think that's actually a good good way to go about it. That, like, if you want to deal with things on merit, then you just hide that information, because like oftentimes biases aren't. Oftentimes we do have biases that aren't really that maybe we're not conscious about, right? Like if I wanted to hire someone for programming, I'm obviously going to hire a trans person. I have that bias because, trans people are good at programming. But like there are people that might have biases against different groups of people that they're just unaware of, right? Sometimes it might be that you have a bias against a certain group of people that you're unaware of because you've never really had to face that bias, and you've never really been confronted with that bias. You may think that that you treat everyone equally, but there might be that just little bias that you have against a certain group of people that means that you're unlikely to maybe hire someone from that group, just because of that unconscious bias that you don't even realize is there. And quite often people do try to rationalize their biases. Greatest programmer in history if they're trans and a furry. Look, I'm not a furry, but I am trans, and I feel like transitioning has made me an even better programmer than I used to be. Right? I get that furries are great programmers too. Like, don't get me wrong, but like if you want to be a better programmer, take estrogen. I've been accused of being a woman hater and a racist because I wouldn't let the person board the flight because their required documents were out of date or non-existent. Yeah, like a lot of people do have. What I'd say would be anti-biases. Like you've got trans people who have anti-biases where they will accuse people of like transphobia. You've got people that will accuse other people of transphobia when they are criticized for something completely different. And you do have that as well. Fan of furries, maybe that's something you should explore. Look, if you've seen the furry chart, where it's like, where do you become a furry? There's a line, and I do not cross that line. I am right before the line. Yes, I have cat ears. Would I put a tail on if I was asked to? Yeah, I would. Paws, maybe. A bit iffy on the paws. But, like, that's about it. You would not catch me wearing a full fursuit. Hey, Plan, I didn't realize you did lives, lol, on the subject. I come in partway as you're... into as long as you're not an ass about it and could do the job, you're hired. Yeah, just if you can do the job, then you should be able to get it. That's the main thing. And like if I go into a programming job, then I think I'd be fairly qualified. I know C++, and like, okay, I wanted to talk about this the whole time, so this is really what I wanted to talk about. Here we go. Let me switch over to this. I've found some things recently that, let me switch over on OBS. Right, so I've found some things recently, and I need to move this over so that you can see. Okay, I have discovered a few things, like literally some of this was last night that I was just thinking about it when I was trying to sleep. So, firstly, I have this audio stuff here, and I thought about it, and I need to put these over. I need to put these over here, right? And then things will be fine. Right. So I thought about it. And I thought, what if I make this private? Now, the problem if I make this private is that now, if I save and go to here, oh, there's a bunch of red stuff because it can't access the stuff. But if I am thinking about this correctly, what I can do, and like it is shocking to me that they don't teach this because they're like, oh, you should never try to access a class's internals. Shut up! I will access the class's internals, and I will rearrange an object's internals any way I like. Anyway, friend, struct, and it is called sound player. There we go. Now if I hit save and go over to here. Okay, please. Alright, hold on. Let me just go like that. Why is it? Maybe I need to go public. See, I haven't used this before. Let me go. Ah! I did not paste it, and it's gonna break. See? I did not mean to press Control B. I missed. Okay, now. How do I do friends? I like the idea of friends. Hold on, let me search this. Friend C++. Right, so it says friend friend declaration. Okay, let's try and work out how friends are done, because okay, class. Okay, so we have class Y and class. Okay, I don't understand this yet. Go on my stream. I'm streaming planner. Stream sip. What? How do I do friends? Every introverted LGBT plus ever. Yeah, I was thinking this would be a great thing. I thought friends would help me. What if I do friend class? I don't think this would work because it's not a class. Because it's not. No. Does it? Because it's not a class, so it shouldn't work. Because it says here, class X. Can I just go friend? Because if I go F5, it's not going to work, right? Sometimes I just need programmers to be like, hey, how do I maybe I need more programmer friends. Yeah, I need more programmer friends, it seems like, because I was wanting to do that. Anyway, that broke. But like, I need to like watch the video that showed it again, because I'm like wanting to, because like so many times you're told, oh, you're not allowed to rearrange the internals of objects, but it's like I need to. Like I've got all these objects in a list. I'm gonna be dealing with the internals of them. Don't tell me not to deal with the internals. And I don't want like I'm dealing with it on a particular thread. That particular thread will handle it. I don't need anything else going in and rearranging the internals. I am the one that rearranges the internals. Thank you very much. You know, anyway, yeah, the C++ reference hasn't exactly helped me. I'll eventually figure it out. I can tell you about why structs. They can have privates in C++. I've seen them. I have seen structs privates, at least in C++ I have. And C they may not be able to have privates, but in C++ they can, because I just made them have privates. Oh, there are people on my roof. Yeah, that's another... I forgot about that. Anyway, let's continue. Another thing that I recently heard about was, like, theoretically, I should actually be able to, like, just do a thing here. Theoretically, I should be able to create a union, and let me guess, this is going to break too. I think it broke. Yeah, I didn't understand that correctly before I did it either. This is programming, folks. Why did the line come up? Oh, it went away. I was trying to work out how to put, because, okay, I recently found out about stuff, and I'm like, this would be cool if I knew how to do it. But unfortunately, turns out that I don't know how to do it. But there is one other thing that I should try, because if I'm remembering correctly, you can actually put, like, what I can do is I can put something like this into, I'm trying, like, trying different things to be able to make my stuff work properly. But I should be able to put this in here, because you can have a class within a class, and then, because it's private, theoretically, or a struct within a class, theoretically this should work. And we should get rid of the warnings as well. Hey, it worked! So, yeah. That's the one thing that I figured would definitely work regardless of whether I knew how to do it. I'm gonna need to do, I'm gonna need to work on the friend stuff though, like, because that could be quite useful actually. The union stuff I don't really care too much about. I also knew this would work because I'm pretty sure that works in C# as well. I like my programming tangents. I've actually, by the way, I actually got, in case you're wondering, I actually got reverb working. Like, take a listen to this. Take a listen. Because if I play this and I press space, you can hear like a reverb. This needs attention. Your prologue? What's my prologue? My prologue? I'm confused. What is my... Hold on, let me... What's my prologue? Give me a second to like see if I can figure out what's going on. What's my prologue? I do not know what the prologue has to do with anything. All I can see, like, I went on the channel and oh yeah, also, I can turn reverb on and off. At one point, I accidentally had a thing where if I pressed the button to turn reverb on and off, it would actually just kill the entire thing, because I actually had the thing that turns reverb on and off. Well, I actually replaced... I replaced the button with, like, K or something for kill. Anyway, what's let me go to this, because I actually can't. Prolog was an AI language from the 80s. Okay, the fascism part, yeah. I do like going on tangents. I will admit, I do like tangents. Someone's trying to fix the roof. They are above me somewhere, and they are fixing the roof. And I forgot about that there's so many noises around, and I should have actually been aware of this, I think it was a few nights ago, when I just about tripped over some of the roof material. But yeah, that's why you're hearing banging on my roof. But yeah. Anyway, at least that's one thing that works, and I am glad about that, because I was actually worried about, okay, if I'm trying to make a library for stuff, and then there's like a bunch of classes that are like just help classes. So if I go to this here, for example, you'll see that I've got this. I just had a thought, and I don't know if I had a thought. I think we're good. Anyway, so yeah, the loaded data will go in there too. So essentially what I was thinking, someone's screwing the roof as well. And I basically had a thought, like literally last night I had this thought of, can't I just put it with, like, if it's just helping this particular thing, these structs are meant to essentially carry data. They're created by the object and used by the objects. You see that there's a vector of pointers that it basically that it queues. And it does sound like a sad werewolf. This is kind of annoying. This is what I have to deal with. This is sometimes why I can't record videos, because it's like, even though I might be awake halfway through the day, I have... Even though I might be awake halfway through the day, I still have to wait until the thing's gone, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime. So werewolves are building a roof. God damn it! Do I have werewolves in my house? You know what? I'm a vampire, so maybe I do. Maybe... Historically, vampires and werewolves get along perfectly fine, right? I've got nothing to worry about. No, I'm a vampire, not a werewolf. That means I'm not a furry. I just said it. I pretty much preempted what you said there, that I'm not a werewolf, that I'm a vampire. And historically, I believe vampires and werewolves have gotten on very fine. I don't think you can... I wonder if you can be a vampire and a werewolf. Like, one of the nights you'd just be like... One of the nights when the full moon comes out, you'd just like turn into a werewolf, but you'd be like a vampire. Imagine if you bit someone, you'd just be like a vampire werewolf. Everyone would be vampire werewolves. That'd be a deadly combination, or a bad combination. What if you bit someone as a vampire, though? Would they turn into a werewolf too? And Dracula could transform into a wolf? I did not know that. Is that where the werewolves came from? Look, I'll let you know a little bit, because this is stuff that's already known. I am a puppy girl, but I'm not a furry. Like, I'm a cat girl, I'm a puppy girl, but I'm not a furry, because, you know, I don't like fursuits. I am not a big fan of the aesthetic. They're kind of terrifying to me. Wish me luck into election day tomorrow. Just be a doll and go watch just a tad on my live stream after. I already did check out your live stream. I think I closed it down. Did I close it down? Yes, I did close it down. Because it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm using things for my internet. But there is something that I did want to talk about to everyone about. And that is when it comes to that is when it comes to future videos, because one of the hard things for me is to work out what exactly to, because like, here's the thing, my last video, which was about Richard Dawkins, that was a video where the video about Richard Dawkins, that was a video where I did was asked pretty much to make it. And so if people have ideas, please let me know. I've gotten some comments that have kind of annoyed me when it comes to especially videos that do well, right? There are videos that will do well and people will say, oh, I don't want you responding to this person. And it's not enough to say, oh, don't respond to Kent Hovind, don't respond to Matt Powell, don't respond to, who's that guy that I've forgotten the name of, that, but people say, don't respond to these people, right? I'm like, well, those are the videos that are doing well, right? I am going to continue responding to the videos that, like, if someone wants like me to respond to things that they think are more highbrow, then watch those videos, or let me know what videos you want me to respond to, because otherwise oftentimes as a creator, it is hard to work out like one of my best videos, actually two of my two best videos, one of them was a video that I was informed about and they wanted me to respond to it, and the other one was a video that I was told about and decided to take a look at when I saw that I think Roger from Mudfossil University had made like a similar video, and I decided, oh, let's intertwine these. I need to do more of that, more intertwining videos. You enjoy my sciencey videos? Yeah, and it's one of those things where, like, if you want to see me make videos on certain topics, like, please do let me know, because I'm trying to work out, like, sometimes trying to work out what my next video is going to be can be difficult. Like, I don't know what my next video is going to be. Is it going to be on the Mandela Effect? Maybe. Is it going to be on like water or something? Maybe. I don't know. And sometimes often people say make the videos that you want to make, but like sometimes it is one of those things where I can't always make the videos that I want to make. There are, and the more ideas that people have for me, like if you say, oh, go and check out this channel, I'll check it out, and it's one of those things where, like, where sometimes I may forget about it. There are channels that I've forgotten about that people have asked me to respond to, but often there are, like, I do know at one point I want to make a video on Bigfoot. Actually, I have a really good argument against that particular video. It's probably not going to be my next video for particular reasons that I'm not going to get into. Was it Nathan Oakley you meant? No, actually, I haven't responded to Nathan Oakley in a while. It's funny, like, I haven't actually responded to any Flat Earthers except for FlatZoid this year. The only reason why I responded to FlatZoid was because it was part of the 12 pseudoscientists of 2024. So when it comes to these things, the reason why I'm not responding to Flat Earthers is because I do find that Flat Earthers have gotten boring to talk about. I probably will respond to, like, Nathan's book. I don't know when that's coming out. But, like, if people, like, want to say, oh, hey, take a look at this channel, take a look at this, that, and the next thing, I will. You know, I need content to respond to. And I also do want to talk about topics that I feel like matter, but, like, it's one of those things where, and I remember having a conversation like this to someone else who said that I need to stop responding to Flat Earthers because they're not important. And I'm like, okay, but, like, talking about Flat Earthers is what has gotten me an audience. And so I need to like maintain an audience whilst also talking about things that are important. And unfortunately, the things that maintain an audience also get like a lot of criticism of, oh, this is like you're better than this, and it's like, yeah, but like I need people to actually hear my I actually need people to hear the message, right? Like I could just like make my next video another video on Richard Dawkins, right? I actually do want to do a second video, a follow-up video, but I want to get someone like there are two people I have in mind, which I'll probably ask to. There's a quote by the person Helen Joyce, who, well, not by Helen Joyce, but by like a quote that I want to like cold open the video with. What can you tell us about the new fusion reactor being built in Washington? I cannot tell you anything. I have not looked into it. I'm actually very skeptical of. This is a tangent, but I'm skeptical about fusion power because I don't know. Like, there's like two parts that you need to. There are two parts that can be difficult to get energy from. Like, well, to overcome the energy that you put in. Obviously, one of the parts is the actual fusion itself. The energy goes in, and you need to get more energy out of that than you put into the fusion reaction. But then at the same time, there's the actual getting of the materials. So you need tritium and deuterium. Tritium is a little bit harder. Deuterium is a lot more common. Tritium a lot harder to get. And you need to also not only account for the energy that you put into the fusion reaction, but you also need to account for the energy that you put into obtaining tritium. And also energy for transport costs is another thing. So that's why I'm a bit skeptical of fusion at this time, but I'm sure that one day they'll overcome it. I will not be screaming to the roof, come in. Sorry. What's this? Hold on. I need to actually like be able to read the chat a bit better. Flatzoid changes channel name to something like Creatine Jesus. That's what I call him. What's the? Someone said something. Said he was not doing Flat Earth anymore, but now doing Flat Earth Fridays. I think it was a week before he returned to doing Flat Earth content. That's all you know. Yeah, like a lot of Flat Earthers, like all they know is Flat Earth stuff, and that's why I don't want to get stuck in like the whole of only debunking Flat Earthers, because I kind of when Flatzoid responded to me last year. Like, one of the things that he kind of didn't understand is that I hadn't been talking about flat earthers for a while. Well, I hadn't been talking about flat earthers that often. And a lot of the times that I've actually talked about flat earthers, it hasn't been because of flat earth. It's just been, this person happens to be a flat earther and they're talking about some batshit crazy stuff. Planner, but I thought they are getting much better at making fusion work. If only we could harness the power of the fusion reactor in the sky. Yeah, like, why don't we use solar? Is tritium any easier to contain than normal hydrogen one? I do not know that. I don't know if... I think it would be harder to, like... I do know that it's harder to get, but, like, harder to contain? I have no clue. I would assume that it would be roughly the same, although it would be a bit heavier, so maybe that might change things. Obviously, obviously hydrogen 1 is it's probably one of the... I think it is the lightest element, because of the simple fact is it's just one proton. Whereas tritium is a proton and 2 neutrons. planner. There are lots of idiots and silly things to cover if you need. Yeah, but the thing is finding them, right? That's like, I have a Discord thing, a Discord channel that often goes underused, and so sometimes people will say something like, "Oh, have you covered a Messenger of Truth?" And I'll go, "That's a channel that I need to cover." And that was one channel that I needed to cover. That video actually did pretty well, and I'm glad about that. But then people are like, "Oh, you can't cover this because they're racist." I'm like, but it did well. And that is the problem. You have to, as a content creator, you have to like work out, okay, you have to tread a line between things that do well. Obviously, you want to make video, like when it comes to Nigel Cheesy Hands, like I'm probably not going to make any more videos on Nigel Cheesy Hands, just simply because I don't want to, like, I don't think he's posted at all in ages. And the last video that I made on him was just like, wasn't even really a video that I made on him. That was earlier this year. I think it was more about Armored Skeptic than anything. And so yeah, making a video on Nigel Cheesy Hands, I feel like if someone's not making video, it's why I haven't made a video on Rob Skiba. Because yeah, Rob Skiba has a lot of stupid, but he's also dead. Rob is no longer with us. And so there is a video ideas thing, and it's one of those things where there are some things where someone will post a thing like Jared Bond 33, and it's like 269 subscribers. I think it was less when I last had a look. But it's like, I feel like people need to be at least somewhat relevant for me to make a video on them. And so, yeah. It's one of those things where I don't want to, I don't want to, like, just make content on people just because they exist. Because, like, I do know that sometimes I do like go, oh, well, this person has been responded to by Simon Dan, so I'll make a video on them. That's actually something that I've done in the past. I've been like, oh, Simon Dan has made a video on this person, so I'm okay with making a video on this person too. And it's one of those things where I don't like, how do I put it? I don't like just making a video on someone without there feeling like there's a point to it. So if you, like recently there was a channel that I came across which I will most likely be responding to called Daily Dose of Wisdom. Though that's for a special thing that you're not allowed to know about. And it's one of those things where I took a look at the channel and was like, I do feel like that channel is more, I feel like their videos are mostly other things. Like, if you take a look at my channel, I make sure that at least 50% of my video is me. And now I'm getting to complaining about, like, the Daily Dose of Wisdom. But yeah, like, I try to make sure that 50% of my video is me, and that, like, less than 50% is the arguments that I'm responding to. Sometimes it can be tricky if the arguments are just so vapid. You don't like targeting unless it really needs to be said. Yeah, if there's someone who I think is a problem or something like that, then I'll be like, okay, yeah, I want to make a video on this person. But if I feel like things to do with ads, for example, was one thing that I was fine with making videos on because, like, they were in ads. But, like, when it comes to, like, if it's like a sometimes I've been sent channels that have, like, a few subscribers. I'm like, I don't really feel the need to go ahead and discuss anything that channel has been saying, because at a point it can feel a bit like bullying, right? I do know that I have an audience, and one of the reasons why I do not put why I do not put the links to videos that I respond to in the description is simply because I don't want people to see that link and then go and then go to that video to harass them. But there will be people that will go out of their way to find videos that I talk, the creators of the videos that I talk about as well. So I try to be cognizant of that. Remember that every single one on YouTube knows they're putting it online. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Does someone need to make the unscientific side of things to make videos on? Depends. Like, sometimes I will just make a video discussing, like, you've probably seen this, like, with some of my Flat Earth videos where I actually just discuss, like, certain arguments to do with Flat Earth rather than have someone make a video on it. And the problem that you can run into with that kind of stuff is that it can feel like, especially to Flat Earthers, that it is a straw man argument, because you're essentially, like, if I make the case for Flat Earth and then I debunk the case for Flat Earth will say, well, Flat Earthers will just say, oh, well, you don't understand it. And that's why I think that response videos are a particularly good way of debunking things, simply because it doesn't allow me to misrepresent their arguments, right? If Richard Dawkins makes an argument about trans people, then I can say, hey, you're wrong because of this, this, and this. Whereas if I try to frame, and you get this often when it comes to trans people, a lot of people go, oh, well, you haven't, like, heard of these arguments. I'm like, actually, yes, I have. But because they're not hearing it from someone who's made those arguments, they think that I am somehow misrepresenting those arguments. Can't control what your viewers do, but it's a good idea to not seem to be encouraging them. Yeah, the only time I put the video that I'm responding to in the description is if I have said do not go harass this person, and I think that person is seems like a decent person. So, for example, a few years back, I responded to Apologetic Squared. And thing with Apologetic Squared is he seemed pretty chill. He responded to me. I responded to him. He responded to me, and then I responded to him. He didn't respond to me after that. But when I responded to him the second time, I was like, well, he was polite, and so I'm okay with putting the video in the description as long as people don't go harass him. Some people shouldn't be touched, like mentally ill, disabled in some way, unless they have done something egregious. Yeah, I sometimes try to be careful about, like, who I make videos on. Obviously, things like mental illness don't show themselves right away, but you'll notice that I have 0 videos where I have talked about Daniel Pratt. I have 0 video because I do not think that I genuinely think that Daniel Pratt is not worth responding to. I think that he probably has some kind of mental thing happening. I don't know what it would be, and also, like, he just doesn't seem like a great person. So it's like, I will leave Daniel Pratt to his own devices, and I'll respond to other people. That's why I've never talked about Daniel Pratt, because it just doesn't feel right to talk about someone like that, you know? One guy argued to me that the pyramids were nuclear reactors. Yeah, you get people like that. Nigel Cheesehand seems to have a few roos loose in his top paddock. Potentially. People have... It's hard to sometimes tell whether people are being genuine or not, but sometimes I think someone like Nigel Cheesy Hands comes across to me as someone who's trying to get money. as someone who's trying to get like a lot of money, and then like with his PCAMs thing, like there's he does seem to have a certain level of knowledge about certain things, and I think that a lot of people do suffer from a kind of, and I think I've had this like when I was a lot younger. I felt that the world was like a lot smaller than what it really is, right? Where as individuals we're often a lot smaller. Like if I try to reach out to, like, let's say Mr. Beast, right? Am I going to get a response? Hell no. If I did try to reach out to Mr. Beast, I probably wouldn't get a response. I'd probably just get ghosted, that kind of stuff. And it is one of those things where I think there are a lot of people that do think that they can do that. In fact, trying to remember a particular person, R.L. Paul, he says that he's reached out to, and there's other people as well. I know there's R.L. Paul who said that he's reached out to some people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I feel like there's another person that there's Roger from Mud Fossil University, who's like, oh yeah, I've reached out to such and such and such and such and such and such. And it's like, yeah, but the world isn't that small. They don't, like, the reason why they haven't responded to you isn't because they're scared of you or whatever. It's because they just don't have the time. These people are busy. People have their own lives on top of doing public appearances. Neil deGrasse Tyson can't answer all the fan mail. And so, like, oftentimes I get that, like, sometimes, like, I do refrain from reaching out to people because it's like, I'll probably get ignored. But it's one of those things where sometimes you do get ignored simply because that person may not know about you, that person may not just have the time to acknowledge your existence. Is R.L. Paul the Coral Castle guy? Yeah. And so I think there are a lot of people that think that they're more important than they are. And so when you combine that kind of, I don't want to say delusion, because it's like something that's very easy to fall into. But when you do combine that kind of delusion of, I can just get this because people will believe me, or that kind of thing, then that, I think, can make people seem a little bit crazier. Reach out to them and get ignored. You won't get an answer if you don't. That is true. Yeah, that is true. Funnily enough, like, I've actually... What do you think about Ken Wheeler? Ken Wheeler, I think, is someone... It's hard to say if he's... Like, I do think, obviously, he's grifting to an extent. That is undeniable. Like, he uses big words to make himself sound smart, but also there's, like, times when he's being caught out on, like, that he doesn't actually know as much about photography as he claims to. So, when it comes to Ken Wheeler, I think there's an aspect of... I think there is an aspect of Ken Wheeler is grifting, but then is there an aspect of maybe he believes what he's saying? And I don't know about that one. I don't know if he believes what he's saying. I can definitely tell that he's grifting by, like, him just, trying to sound smart. It's kind of like when it comes to Deepak Chopra, right? Does Deepak Chopra know that what he's saying is just word salad? Maybe. Maybe he believes it. Same with Jordan Peterson. Jordan Peterson is another one where it's like, maybe he's used so much word salad that he has convinced himself that he's smart. I argued with R.L. Paul in his YouTube comments. He deleted all of my comments because he was afraid that it would hurt his book sales. Oh, I'm going to make another video on him. Probably. I think that's going to happen. Unless something changes by the time I get round to that. There's a particular thing that... But at the current rate, I am going to be making another video on him at the end of the year. Worst you can get is no reply, but never think that you are important enough to even... Never think that you are important enough to even get a reply. Yeah, I think that's the thing, that a lot of people think that they are important enough to get replies about certain things. You know, like, there are times when it's like, oh, I want to reach out to this content creator, but, like, they'll probably ignore me. Because I don't have this sort of idea. I know that there are people that have been starstruck from talking to me, and I personally don't get it. I'm just a person on YouTube. You know, like, there are people that have talked to me, and it's like, oh, I'm talking to Planet Walk, and I'm like, yeah, I'm just a person. And I think that's one of the things that kind of is always in my mind, is that I'm just a person. Like, I'm not all that important. And so it surprises me when people get starstruck, and I'm just baffled sometimes. Sometimes you can start to believe your own lies if you do it for long enough. That is true, yeah. Like, if I try to, like, let's say, you know, say, oh, I'm trying to think of, like, it's something that, like, if I were to say, if I were to unironically believe that I was God, then, you know, eventually, and, like, unironically said, oh, I'm God, you should all worship me, and enough people worship me, then maybe that would... Now, obviously, I do not believe that I am God. I use it as a sort of tongue-in-cheek way to... I use it as kind of a thing to say, oh, yeah, like, I don't think that I don't think that there is a God, but, you know, you should worship me. It's like a funny thing that I do. But if I were to unironically believe that, then that would be a thing where, like... Well, if I were to be saying that unironically to try and get people to worship me, eventually it may be one of those things where I mean, you do get people like that, don't you? Who may start as trying to, like, create a cult, but ultimately end up convincing themselves that they're the Messiah or something like that. That's called a Jesus complex. We've come accustomed to the whole world at our fingertips. It's not wrong to feel uneasy when you see it breaking apart. Your thoughts are not conspiratorial, you're real, you're human and good. Sometimes my thoughts can be a little conspiratorial. That's your delusion of grandeur. And it's like, that's one of those things where I try, like, because I think when you are a content creator, it is very easy to see yourself as above others. And that's the thing that I try to prevent myself from falling down. And I think I genuinely think that the best way to avoid having these delusions of grandeur, I genuinely think this, and it's to be shown by people that are that hold, like, a higher status than you, that that person does not think of themselves as someone like Simon Dan, for example. He doesn't think of himself as above anyone. From what from all that I've interacted with him, he doesn't think of himself as above anyone. Like, he's got a very successful YouTube channel, and, you know, sometimes he gets a little old me on, right? And so it's one of those things where it's like, if Simon Dan doesn't see himself as that important, why would I think of myself as that important, right? And it's one of those things where I do think that there are a lot of people that Like, I think people like Matt Walsh, for example, they do see themselves as important. And they don't have anyone kind of to humble them in any way. And I think sometimes people do need to be humbled, right? And, you know, sometimes you do get humbled by people that aren't great. I was once humbled by someone, and I'm like, holy shit. But okay. But yeah, I think that there are people that it's like, you might see someone as like, oh, this really important person, or this person that holds more status than me in some regards. But then it's like, they don't really see themselves as that way. And I think that is the best way to kind of stop people from having some kind of superiority complex. Right? I think that's the best way to stop people. Like if there was someone who had, like, let's say 10,000 YouTubers, 10,000 subscribers on YouTube, right? I don't think that I'm better than that person. In fact, sometimes, like, that person will be better than me. Like, for example, Alice in Wonder Wonderland. When I reached out to her, like, I had more subscribers than her. But I saw that her content was way better than mine. And so the fact that she has more subscribers than me doesn't bother me one bit. And it's one of those things where it's like, sometimes you got to, like, realize that there are people that out there that could, like, use a lift up. I'm not important. Well, I am important in some ways, but not important in the, oh, you should all, like, be groveling at my feet kind of important, or whatever. Or I'm not better than anyone, is what I'm saying. I get humbled by my teenage daughter almost daily. She's very smart and not like most idiot teenagers. Yeah, we like when kids are smart. Basically, you're saying be a bit carefree and happy-go-lucky. It's okay to know what you know. It's also okay to know what you don't know. I'm saying don't think you're better than anyone. Like, obviously there are, like, obviously you do have, there is a case of know your worth, right? But there is also a case to be made of don't think that you're better than everyone because you have, like, a YouTube channel that has, like, X amount of subscribers. Right? If you are like, I do think that there is an importance to know your worth as well. Like, I'm not going to like, if someone asks me to like collab with them, I'm going to check out the channel first, and I'm going to see if their channel is a channel that I think is good. If I do not think that their channel is good or has something to offer, then I'm not going to collab with them. It's really that simple. So, you know. But yeah, that's basically my take on that. Since when's was subscribers a tally for importance? Here, yeah, I actually think that, like, because, like, initially, if you know me, I tried to get into YouTube with gaming, and one of the things I noticed is that, like, it is very much a when you're in the gaming scene, it is very much a thing where there are a lot of people that have a heightened sense of self-importance. If you are like 100, like a 200 subscriber difference, like over a 200 subscriber difference, then people will be like, no, I don't want to collab with you because your content is shit. And I get that it's like one of those things where, like, the I do get that it's one of those things where the how do I put it? Where the market is oversaturated, but it is a lot of people. You know, if you've got 1,000 subscribers, a lot of people with 1,000 subscribers think that they're better than everyone. Not everyone, but there are a lot of people like that. And then there are. Then when I came into the debunking scene, like the people that I have interacted with, way more subscribers than me. Like orders of magnitude more subscribers than me. And it's like they don't care how many subscribers I've got. And so I think that this is definitely a better, and let's be real here, more important scene to be in. Is it okay to say a healthy sense of self-importance? Yeah. Like I think that obviously you do need to think of yourself as important. Like, you know, the whole love yourself thing. But I don't think it's good to see yourself as better than everyone. And that's like the whole thing that I've been saying. Hey Nikki, are you drinking enough water? Okay, I'll drink more water. Arsenic was getting me to drink water earlier. In fact, I think I've gotten a few people asking me to drink water. Oh, if you want to, I feel like if you want to know, like, I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, like that's my take on it. Like I do very much dislike when people are like, "Oh, I'm better than everyone," because like chances are you're not. Maybe you are in like a certain thing. Like that's when you do like go to the Olympics or whatever. If you're better than everyone, you want to go to the Olympics. Otherwise, or the esports Olympics, whatever they're called. Right. Otherwise, you're not. And just, like, be okay with that. And I feel like when it comes to RL Paul, like, he's one of those people that thinks that he's better than everyone. And that's one of the things I dislike. But, like, here's the thing about RL Paul. He used to, at the very least, he used to be a subscriber of mine. I don't know if he still is. He was definitely a subscriber of mine, and I know that because like he left 100 comments, more than 100 comments on my channel. And it's one of those things where like I think the RL pool from like 3 years ago is much more pleasant than the RL pool of today. I will say that. And like I remember like seeing the video and I'm like I remember like I watched a video that he made on me and then like he deleted it, and then it wasn't the deleting it that was like the problem. It was the fact that he responded in such an arrogant way about deleting it. Like you can say like, oh, I don't want things to be toxic, and it's fine if you don't want things to be toxic. I think that deleting a video because you felt that it was too toxic is perfectly fine. If he had have said, I just don't want things to be toxic, and left it at that, I would have had no problem. I would have gone easy on him in my video that I made on him. But it's because he responded in the way that he did that I was like, okay, I am going to, I'm not holding back on this guy. I have a tangent for you. Define importance, because what even is that in some ways? I generally think of it as... It's really hard to define, isn't it? Like when, like, I don't know how to define it in words. Like, I know what it means, but like if an issue is important, I feel like the issue is like pressing, right? It's an issue that should be focused on. And I think that's like what important means to me means is something that should be focused on in terms of like in terms of certain things. Depends what terms, but like when like someone says, "Oh, you're important," it's like, well, you need to focus on yourself sometimes. Someone you need to pay attention to, even when you don't want to. Oh, that's an alarm. I wouldn't say that necessarily need to, but like, I'd say that they're worth paying. Like, if someone's important, I'd say that there's someone worth paying attention to. And everyone, I think, to an extent, is important. Like, obviously, like, it's worth paying attention to yourself, for example. And in that sense, I think that everyone is important. Because, like, you do have to pay attention to yourself. And sometimes it's also worth paying attention to others. As well. So I think that's probably a good thing of importance, like something that is worth paying attention to. Whether that be for good or bad reasons as well. Like, sometimes something can be important because it's worth paying attention to for bad reasons. Like, that's why I try to make videos on trans issues, because that is important to me, because I think that it is something that we certainly don't have enough trans people who are paid attention to on that matter, and I feel like not having that does lead to more transphobia. I'd define it as someone who has knowledge of facts that you're interested in. Sometimes I think it's because, like, obviously when I say worth, that is a subjective evaluation, and I think that's the whole thing with the idea of importance. Importance is, and I do understand that when you say that you are interested in, is also a subjective evaluation, but like I think that worth, like saying someone worth listening to or someone worth paying attention to, is also a more subjective evaluation that doesn't ignore that sometimes people can be important for the wrong reasons. But yeah, like teachers are important. I would agree with that. Yeah. But yeah. And to figure out if they're correct, I suppose you need to do your own research. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good question. What is importance? That's a good question to ask. Because, yeah, I do think that people can be important for both good reasons, bad reasons. Obviously, there's a general level of importance that everyone needs to have. Especially, pay attention to yourself sometimes. Because sometimes you need it. I know that sometimes I don't pay attention to myself, and then things don't go too well. Goddamn Spyro. I will... I urge anyone who's on HRT to not take Spyro. Take any other T blocker that you can, just not Spyro, because Spyro is the devil. R.L. Paul claims that he disproved all the astronomers. Does he think that he discovered the sidereal day and the solar day is out of sync? I can't remember his arguments that well. Like, that's like the funny thing. Like, I know the vague, like his argument was vaguely that... Oh yeah, basically his argument was Polaris was off-center, is not directly north, so therefore astronomers are wrong about stuff. I understand T-Block. I'd say don't take the things you don't want to take. I encourage trans people to not take Spyro, like take Cypro instead. Obviously a low dose of Cypro, because I have spoken to too many trans people that have not had good effects. Because, like, okay, when it comes to Spyro, it's a diuretic. It makes you pee more, and I have when it comes to trans people, we tend not to especially trans femmes, we tend not to drink enough. Also, I found out that it actually has lactose in it, which is interesting. But we tend not to drink enough. So you add not drinking enough on top of peeing a lot, and all of a sudden you have the perfect recipe of, oh, this is not a this is not good for like certain things. So that those certain things being your stools need water, need moisture, and if you do not drink enough, then they don't have that moisture. This leads now by itself that wouldn't be a problem, but you got to remember that your body is a whole system and it's working to do stuff. What that causes, it causes what is called fissures if you don't have enough liquid, and unfortunately fissures are very annoying to deal with. But yeah, it is something that is not fun to deal with. I encourage they develop over time, and yeah, I get nasty shivers just hearing the word fissures. Yeah, it's not fun to have to deal with, and it's something that I have had to deal with because of the simple fact is I didn't drink enough and I was on Spyro. If I do not drink enough, and there was a point recently where I just did not drink enough, I found that they reopened. And that was not fun. So that is the one sort of, hey, we shouldn't do this kind of opinion I have about trans healthcare. Like, I do think that there are some things where it's just like, hey, we've got other means of doing this. Cypro is something that I much prefer. But yeah. Dr. Nimrod says, I was given that when my liver failed. It sucked in my stud to grow boobies. It wasn't fun. Yeah, it's a diuretic, and it makes you pee a lot. You see, for me, I liked the growing boobs part. That part is the fun part for me. I like my boobs. Other people do too, as it turns out. Like, you can go ahead and like ask people like about my boobs that have seen the, and they'll be like, yeah, that's if they've seen them or interacted with them. And they'll be like, yeah, good boobs. Mark says, see, you are important. Without that little, I know I'm important, I just don't think I'm, too important. Like, it's one of those things that I know that I know I'm important. I know there's certain people who I'm important to. I know that just like there are people who are important to me. And, but yeah, I do know that in a sense, like, I do have a sort of importance in being able to communicate things to people. but I don't think that means that I'm necessarily deserving of that ability to communicate certain things. But sometimes I am like, yeah, fucking listen to me, please. Especially with trans stuff. Like, I don't really care if it's me. It's just like, listen to trans people. It can be Katie Montgomery. It can be Ty Turner, you know? It can be Nyara. It can be Alice in Wonderland, even though she doesn't really talk about trans stuff in particular. But, you know, like, there are people, I think, who are worth listening to, and I would like to be that person, but if that person is not me, then that is okay, as long as you are listening to trans people. I have heard the red pill in the Matrix is feminizing hormone and the blue pill is an anti-anxiety drug if you decide not to transition and when you have just gender dysphoria, someone should tell the florist. Yeah. Yeah, that is a thing. And I probably need to end up stream because people on my roof again. The boobs being very sore and sensitive was not the fun part, and I miss the smell and my weight, so it is had moves. Yeah, I actually didn't mind the them being like a little bit sore and sensitive. Like my boobs are like actually, and now they're banging on my roof again. But yeah, like I do like my boobs. As I said, like, I think they're cool. Other people think they're cool, and that's what matters. Like, you know, and they're getting bigger, which is like one of those things where I'm like, I'm over 2 years on HRT, nearly 3 years at this point, and like they've grown like. In the last, I think, few months have grown. At least that's what I've been told. And it's like, hell yeah. I need to eat more. Before I leave, I actually decided to have a bit of a breakfast before, you know, can't stream on an empty stomach. But before I came on, I decided to have, there are a few things I decided to make. So there's these things called taties. Essentially, you put them in oil, hot oil, and then I've been finding that the oil often gets too hot, so I need to like turn that down a little. But you put them in hot oil, and they end up expanding, and they're very light. But you know, nom nom nom. But then I've also there's someone that I saw recently who got me some potatoes. And I've been putting those potatoes. I've been cutting up those potatoes, or peeling them and then cutting them up, and then whilst the oil is hot, I put it in that, and you know, it tastes nice. It's like chips. But yeah, chips are nice. I like having them with sauce. But yeah, like I should probably eat more. So that's like the only downside is like I need to eat more, but I don't always have the money for extra food. It's like quite often me working out, okay, what can I do with what I have? There's actually something that I could probably do soon, so you know. But yeah, I am going to end up the stream because there are people on my roof, and yeah. And you can tell that they're doing stuff. I don't know what that sounds like. It certainly doesn't sound like a werewolf anymore. So, anyway, I've been yapping for I have been yapping for a long time because that's what I like to do. I like to yap. I like the fact that people listen to me. So I will see you in the next video. Make sure you join my Discord and everything so that you can like have a say over what the next video is. Maybe maybe if you have ideas for me to take a look at, I'll take a look at them and I'll make a video on them. But anyway, I will see you in whatever that next video may be. Between you and me, thank you for watching. I have a bad time. There we go. Thank you for